welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to be doing a little experiment. Everybody that does resin knows that resin and water do not mix. So you clean your moulds, you put your resin in, but you've not dried your moulds, and there's a drop of water in your mould and it affects the curing of the resin. Everyone's seen it on YouTube. I'm not saying everybody, but everybody who's actually in the resin field will know that water cannot be put with resin. But we all know that acrylic paints are water-based, can be added in small moderations to colour your resin. So my experiment today, with speaking with Just For You Online UK, was to see if we can add Eco Pigments to resin. Now Eco Pigments are specially formulated for eco resin, and eco resin is a water based. It's like a craft. It's just like a plaster. It's kind of like a plaster of Paris. So these are water based. So we're going to see. I'm going to get a couple of other moulds in a minute. I'm going to see how far we can take it. Now there's nothing in these that will affect the resin chemically wise, but because they're water based, obviously I'm not sure on the chemical reaction. So you will need a mask. You need a mask anyway when working with resin, but you will need a respirator. So I am going to be wearing my respirator. So from this point onwards, it will go to a voiceover when I come back. So I do have another Love Heart mould, which I'm going to use a few of them, and we're going to start off in the Love Heart tray. We're going to start off with one colour, and I'm just going to add a little bit of pigment, put it in, and then I'm going to add more pigment, and we're going to see how far opaque we can take the resin using Eco Pigments. And they are Eco Pigments because they are from Just For You Online UK, and their brand is Eco. So that's what we're going to be doing today. How's that sound? I hope that sounds interesting for you. And the only reason why I'm asking and wondering whether you can use these types of products within resin is because sometimes it's nice just to use different products than using the same products all the time. Because we all use pigment paste, we all use mica powders, and we all use pigment powders, pigment drops, alcohol inks, resin dyes, resin, you know, you name it, we all do it, but we've not done these. And now I have looked, and I have looked on YouTube, I've looked on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and I couldn't find it. So that's why I'm doing it today. As I said, I did speak with Just For You Online UK, and they said that I think Nicole had asked Louise. I think Louise, I get confused between them. I think Louise is the one that owns Create and Bloom, and Nicole is the one that owns Apex, Just For You Online UK, but they run it together. And I asked them, and she just said, well, it can't go in resin because obviously it's not formulated for resin. But they said that they would, you know, Nicole said that she'd like to know. So I said, right, well, I'm going to do an experiment. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I do repeat myself a lot. You'll get used to that. It's just because a lot of people skip stuff, so they miss out what I'm going to be doing. So for this experiment, I'm going to be taking some cocktail stirrers. Now I use cocktail stirrers because they're durable, they're reusable, and they cost next to nothing, because the amount of wooden sticks I used to go through, and they used to make my resin bubbly, and that's because they're porous. So I stick with plastics. I think they're either acrylic or plastic, so I've just got a few of them, a few pots. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my other mould, and we're going to mix up some resin, and I'll be back. See you shortly. Well, hello, I'm back, and I'm back on a voiceover. So I've got my resin mixed up. I've got 20 pumps of the Apex High Gloss 1-to-1 resin from Just For You Online UK, 20 pumps of bottle A and 20 pumps of bottle B. Brought me around 5.5 ounces. So here is the other mould that I'm going to be using. I've had this mould since I first started resin. I used to make my hug hearts for my other business that I used to have. So what we're going to be doing in the big one is we're going to be taking the resin from transparent through to opaque. Alright, so my resin is now mixed, and I do have some unmixed resin within my pot, and that's typical when using a mixer. So if you do use a resin mixer, I'm using the Astoyo dual mixer, which contains the AI function button, which mixes your resin for 4 minutes. You will need to take a cocktail stick or a resin stirrer and just mix that back into the resin until you no longer have your streaks. Alright, so now all the resin is mixed up and all the unmixed resin is mixed back into the resin. I'm just going to split the resin into a few pots. I put about 100 mils within my transparent transparent pot, and then I've got 2 little pots which I'm going to be doing 2 other colours. And the reason why I'm just doing 2 other colours is just because there'll always be somebody that tries and says, well, you know, it's not a fair experiment because you're using one colour. So I've got 2 other colours. I'm going to be doing a yellow and a blue, and I'm just going to be using them as well. And that just shows, and I know that not every pigment is formulated the same way. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but not every pigment within the Eco Pores are the same. So I'm using the Dickens Red. This is a very, very, very dark red, or bright red should I say. So I'm just giving it a stir because the pigment has mixed from the water. And then I've got coral blue, and then I've got Crusoe yellow. So I'm going to start off with the 2 little pots, and the 2 little pots are going to be going in my little heart moulds. So I'm going to start off with the yellow. These are not being used. These were sent for Alacio 4 years Eco Pore, but you know, mummy could use them as well. And as they're unused, I do need to undo them. So I'm just using my dotting tool just to break the foil on it, and then I'm going to get my what's it called? My cocktail stirrer, and I'm just going to stick my stick in, wipe it off, and put it into the resin. I'm not doing a lot of pigment because these are quite highly pigmented, these. So as I said, I've scraped most of it off. There's hardly any on, and it is watery, so it would run off if there was a lot. And I'm just going to mix that until there's no streaks left within the resin. Just make sure that it's mixed in properly, and then that way it's done fairly. And in between, I always scrape off my pigment onto the side just to make sure that everything's gone. And then I'll take some kitchen paper and I'll just clean my stick, and then I just put it in my mould. Look how vibrant that is, and how strong the colour is just off one little dip. Make sure you put all your lids back on, because if you're like me, you're notorious for making a mess, some will get knocked over. And then we're going to do the same with the Crusoe blue. Again, dip your stir stick in, a clean one that's not been in the resin. Every time you use any pigment, make sure that you don't use resin on your stick. It's been in the resin, because you can get resin curing inside your pigment, and you don't want that. And again, all I do is dip my stick in. Yeah, I'm tongue twisted today. Dip your stick in. Apologies, I didn't swear. It was a voice error. Make sure you dip your stick in, wipe off as much as you can, and just have a tiny little bit of pigment on your stick, and then put that into your resin and stir, making sure everything is all mixed in. Please don't report me, because I don't swear, that was just an accident. And then all I'm doing is just wiping off the pigment. I always wipe off the slurpers. I apologise, I'm not going to cut this out because people seem to love my edits. I always wipe off the surplus pigment off my sticks, and that way it just stops it unmixed pigment in the resin. And then we're going to put that into the other heart mould. I won't be using these resins. These will be discarded into the trash, just because this is just for an experiment, not anything else. And then I'm going to go with the Crusoe. I can't even name the red. It's one of them days today. It's Monday. It's been a long weekend. I've had my granddaughter here for the weekend and my 3, so it's been a long weekend, along with the summer holidays. So no rest for the wicked. Right, so we're taking the red. All I'm going to start off with, there's 9 compartments to this mould, so there's 9 love hearts. And I'm going to start off with a tiny little bit of pigment in my resin. And for each heart, we're going to add more resin and then pour it. Not more resin, add more pigment, then pour, add more pigment, then pour, add more pigment, then pour. So what I'm going to do on from here, because this is quite a lengthy process, this little bit, I'm going to time lapse this. So as I said, stick, dip, put it into the resin, mix, clean your stick, done. And then I'll be doing this each time and adding more pigment. So I will time lapse you from here with a little bit of music, and I will see you when this mould is full. After I'd mixed up the 6 parts of the love hearts, I ran out of resin, so I had to take a bit of resin that was in my bigger pot at the top, and I had to make it as dark. I had to eyeball it, the darkness of the red. I managed to get the right colour, and then I started adding more and more pigment to it for the last 3 pigments, the last 3 hearts. So hopefully, as you can see, the transparency from the heart 1 right through to heart 9, you can see it getting darker and darker. And all I'm doing is just dipping my stick in once each time and pouring it into the mould. Right, so I'm going to stick you back on a time lapse. So that's all the love hearts poured. The experiment has now come to an end. So what I'm going to do now is take a long neck lighter, and the reason why I'm taking a long neck lighter, as you see that discoloration on top of the hearts, that is actually bubbles. So there are surface bubbles that have come from within the resin and come to the surface, and you can use a long neck lighter or even alcohol spray just to pop them bubbles so that they're not sitting on the top of each love heart. And once these have been debubbled, I'm going to leave them again to degas. I will babysit them for an hour, and then these will go on my heat mat for around an hour and a half, as they are quite shallow pours. And I will be back once these are cured and we can demould and take a look at them. Bye. Right, so we are back and these are now fully cured. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the faceted ones first. And what I'm looking for really in these is just to make sure that the pigment hasn't fell down to the bottom. It's still mixed and it's cured properly, and it has. Same with the blue. And they're opaque. And I used a minute amount of pigment. And as you can see from the red ones, the first one I take out is very transparent, but it's cured. And then as we take a look at the rest of them, there's no unmixed pigment and there's no gritty bits from pigment, nothing. The pigment mixed directly in with the resin, no problem whatsoever. And the more pigment I've put in, as you can see from the gradients of the actual hearts from each one, there was nothing wrong with the cure process whatsoever. Now, will this work with every eco pigment? I don't know. But from using the Eco Pigments from Craft and Bloom, I can say the experiment was successful and you can use Eco Pigments within resin. So it's nice because I've got a lot of colours now and I will be using them again in bigger makes, because I've not used small. They're quite what's the word? They're quite big, the love heart moulds. The love hearts, they're not like exactly minute. So yeah, I will be working with them again, not a problem. So guys, I hope you found this experiment interesting. It wasn't anything major, it wasn't anything specific, it was just to see if we could use them, and we can. So I'm going to leave that with you for today. So please like, comment and subscribe if you've not already done so. That would help my channel out so much. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you on tomorrow's upload. Bye!